We're back on Southeast Texas Weekly, and Kent Batman is here, the Hardin County Republican chair, joining us loaded for bear with information on voter fraud. W.L. Pate, Beaumont City Councilman, also joining the team. Give me a quick word on what you're seeing in the state of Wisconsin. Voter fraud is actually happening, and evidently, might require a legislative remedy from some state, like I don't know, Texas.
Well, there's other states that have voter ID bills, but there's a lot of states where more ballots are cast than we have registered voters. A U.S. Attorney, Stephen Biskupik, I guess, said investigators found more than 4,500 ballots were cast in Milwaukee than they had registered voters.
4,500 more than registered voters?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Michael Lindsay, how can this be possible?
Well, it's not possible, but I would like to talk about the Texas issue. We've had 2 cases of voter ID prosecution since 2002. That's 14 years and 2 votes.
And the reason for that is, just like it said here, although there was 4,500 ballots cast, they couldn't find a conspiracy. They couldn't find who's responsible. Who do we prosecute for? We know voter fraud's happening. We don't know who to go after.
Very interesting. How is the government going to avert a shutdown this fall, fellows? We have a big fight on our hands in the fall. Republican majorities are essentially saying they will not vote to fund Obamacare in many cases, in the House especially. Democrats say they want those sequester cuts to be refunded, if you'll allow me to use that word. How are we going to avert a government shutdown, and if we don't, who's going to get the blame, WL?
One of the things that's always puzzled me, and I appreciate the fact that I am so proud to be a graduate of Lamar University and my master's degrees in economics. I've always been amazed how people in the government, when there's an increase in the budget and somebody says we want to cut the increase but still spend more, that's a cut somehow. It's beyond comprehension anywhere except in the government, where a proposed increase, which is decreased by less than what it was before, is somehow cutting. We're spending more money today than we've ever spent under these continuing resolutions which have been passed. Now,
is it going to be the GOP that gets the blame for it, though, and consequently possibly big losses in 2014?
Well, I'm sure that the GOP will be held accountable for that if it happens. I don't really think it's going to happen, but in 1995 this happened. We had 6 years of balanced budgets after that. Sometimes you got to give up your speakership.
Well, you also picked up Republicans picked up 2 senators.
But in the governor's races, we picked up tons.
What do you think of the matter of defunding Obamacare at what appears to be the 11th hour?
Obamacare is going to be funded. The government is going to shut down, is my projection. I think we have 3 groups in Congress. You have a group of Democrats, you have a group of moderate Republicans, and you have Tea Party people. And there won't be a consensus between 2 of the 3 people to reach any type of budget agreement. And I think the government will shut down. Ultimately, I think the Republicans are going to be held accountable.
And according to Politico, the White House is patently against any kind of effort to defund Obamacare. They're not giving an inch, reportedly.
Well, sadly, when this was put together and voted on, and Nancy Pelosi famously said, you have to pass the bill to see what's in it. Well, all of a sudden people are seeing what's in it and they go, oops, well, let's postpone this because this is going to impact our election next year. Let's hold this, let's give all these people exemptions, large corporations, unions, but the individual mandates, to heck with you poor people out there, y'all going to have to pay.
It makes you wonder. I mean, we've covered some of this ground before, but Ted Cruz going across the nation saying essentially, I will do whatever it takes. I'll shut this government down. I'll vote. My vote will be to shut the government down before I fund Obamacare. Is that wise politics?
Well, it probably is wise politics if he's running for senator of Texas. The other thing is he's in the Senate, so he really can't decide that.
He might be. He may even be shooting a little higher than the senator of Texas.
Well, you know, one of the sad. This really is sad, Kevin. There's a lot of ways to get universal coverage, take care of pre-existing conditions, but doing it through the private market instead of turning it over to the government, which will the IRS will ultimately have control. They're going to hire 16,000 more IRS agents, and we know how fair and balanced they are toward all the citizens out there. Who's going to get what? Who are they going to investigate? And every time they say they're going to cut Medicare, they're not cutting Medicare. They're cutting the doctors' fees, and then expect them to keep doing it for nothing or go in the hole.
New bloodshed in Syria and Egypt to talk about. Brand new revelations on how much the NSA is spying on you and more when Southeast Texas Weekly continues.